I was born into an ordinary family. My mom passed away when I was small, so I was raised by a single dad. I met my husband at work where I was as a product development manager. It was a multi business organization in the food industry. The hotel is owned by his family. He praised the dish I created, saying it tasted the best. That was the start of our friendship. Before I knew it, we were married. The family owned, operated 20,000 supermarkets nationwide. That was my husband's family. Unless it was a very rural area, there should be at least one in your neighborhood. It was that famous and successful. Moreover, they branched out to the business and shopping center opera. They were rumored to be the best in the industry. I was quite nervous about marrying a family of tycoons, but my husband and his father gave us a warm welcome. I was relieved and I was happy to see that my friend had made it through the storm safely. However, my mother-in-law, Camilla, is a different story. She was very proud of being a wife whose husband was in line to become the next president. She saw me, who was raised in a singing household with an ordinary background, as a stain on the family. It was natural for her to ignore me, lower status than herself. I was treated as an insignificant person. Her way of oppressing me was terrible, but I managed to put up with it. However, it escalated by one incident. My menu design was chosen to be used by popular restaurants in a shopping center where the family managed. I graduated from a design school, which I applied to my current job. I am a little confident. Camilla also studied a bit of design, but her entry was excluded from the finals. She was mortified by losing against me and acted like a sore loser. She started resenting me since then. She couldn't stand me in the spotlight. Her harassment got worse and worse. To begin with, she had only taken a design course once. I think she was too arrogant to admit that she couldn't have won against me, who had studied hard and learned a lot in school. She started visiting my husband way at home, just to say sarcastic and petulant insults. Sally, you haven't cleaned off the behind the shelves. Soon as she entered the house, she won anything against me to say. I always had the house ostensibly neat, so she looked for tiny details like the shelves. The fried eggs are burnt. What kind of discipline have you recipe okay with such a mess? Wayne, who actually burned the eggs.
It was me.
With an offensive tone. He didn't mind helping me out with some of my daily tasks, as we naturally shared them. She picked on her son's little mistake, which came right back to her. She seemed a bit awkward, but Sally, you forced him to cook, didn't you? What a wife. I always took perfect husband and never slacked on cooking and chop. She changed the subject and criticized him. Even though Wayne tried to stop her, she continued until I apologized.
I'm sorry.
I always ended up apologizing for being unsure of, and then she would put on a satisfied smile and leave. Wayne understood my hardship and was tired of his own mother.
I'm sorry about her.
He apologized to me every time.
No worries. I just need to put more into housework. It's true that I'm giving you a lot I should.
No way. It's her fault, no matter. I need to protect you more.
I had to comfort him and tell him that he was doing his best. He had consulted with his father about his mother's harassment, but I supposed he had forgotten about his busy schedule. From the way, she hadn't changed at all. Well, I just needed to not take it seriously. So I had never imagined that she would do something like that. When Wayne's cousin had a baby, a celebration was planned. Thanksgiving Day was chosen for the occasion, because it was a traditional time for Americans to gather with family and friends to give thanks for the blessings of the harvest and of the past year. To introduce as many family members, it was set to coincide with the big gathering. The family of the cousin was a well confectionery, so the number of relatives to join 80 people. It was a family tradition to celebrate extravagantly. Hence, distant relatives were also involved in the business. The day after Wayne told me about the celebration, Camilla called me.
Ida's a big celebration at Soy 11 with extra dishes from the Michelin-starred restaurant, but it's a tradition to cook the maize within the family. So I have a suggestion for you. You used to brag about how good at Kisi are.
I was a bit annoyed by the sarcastic tone of her voice, but I was confident with the tastes since I helped at my dad's restaurant. Wayne always praised that I was a pro. I remembered that I did mention it while back.
Don't embarrass the family, okay? You're charge of the turkey stuffing.
Before I could answer, she hung up. I let out a sigh and thought she was being her normal self. I rearranged my schedule until the started searching for the recipes. My turkey was going to be compared Michelin dishes, so I must choose my ingredients care. I felt burdened with the nuisance. Then came the Thanksgiving day. Camilla usually tried to meddle with time to time, but she had been quiet since the cafeteria incident. I was feeling very uncanny. After all, it was the calm before the storm. I was working at the office when I from her. The event was in 2 hours at 1 p.m. So she must have been busy overseeing final setup. I worried that there was something. Answered the phone, feeling unsettled.
I tasted your turkey and stuffing. I can't let anyone eat something so disgusting. I didn't know you could only cook on the supermarket, remade food.
Rats won't even touch it.
She immediately yelled over the phone. Wait. Some ready-made foods are high in salt, sugar, or fat. She was a part of the family who sold exactly that. She, of all people, shouldn't have been in a supermarket, right?
It was so bad that I threw it away after taking a bite. You better prepare another one. Don't you dare go and buy from a sup. It's gross.
I couldn't quite grasp what was going on while she continued yelling in a high voice. I said in my confusion,
I'm working at the office right now. I'm in the middle of rushing to finish that came in at the last minute.
I started my current situation.
I don't care. We don't have time. You better come over here and prepare something right away. That's your most important job?
She was out of control. There was something she had misunderstood. She must have not been informed that there has been a change in the way people cook today. I did take up the task, but I was assigned to another job for a reason. Threw away the turkey. It was prepared by. I tried to clear my mind and calmly.
Please listen. I've been working at the office since morning. I was no longer in charge of cooking free time. 1.
What? Then who made that?
She sounded stunned and was having time understanding. I heard her gasp and.
What are we going to do? We only have hours left.
She ranted.
Whatever you want to do, it's already late.
This is your fault. You didn't infant.
You must do something, or else I'll tell everyone you ate the turkey away. She became hysterical when I couldn't have her telling everyone lies. So I had no choice but to rush to my house. The road was heavily congested with traffic. When I finally arrived, it was a lit noon, 1 hour before the event. I had already told Wayne about so he hastily ran over to me, looking.
All the dishes are set up except that one. It's thrown into the trash, and everyone is confused as to who could have done such a terrible thing.
He explained to me as we entered where the atmosphere was as tense as a scene from a horror movie. Camilla must have been desperate. that as soon as she saw me,
It's her, Sally, who threw it away. It's said that the murderer returned scene of the crime.
She wasn't here before, so she must be the culprit.
she started yelling incomprehensibly. I could foresee what was to come, so I asked Wayne for a favor. The turmoil of Camilla continued.
What have you done, Sally?
Just because you're from an ordinary background, you don't have to resent a distinguished family.
It's disgusting that you would go to lengths. You are evil.
She screamed at me. Around us were Wayne's grandmother, uncles, cousins, their wives, and other relatives who had gathered to hear the commotion. They all looked at me with reproach, believing what she had said. I calmly explained,
It wasn't me who trashed the dish. I had no reason to do so.
Camilla quickly objected.
Who else would do such a thing? Only an ungrateful person like you. The celebration.
I kept my cool and calmly denied her delusional accusation.
I was working at the office this morning. If you don't believe me, please check with colleagues. That's when Camilla called and told she threw away the food. 1.
How dare she? Not only she looks due, but she accuses me of such a terrible thing.
She appealed to everyone around us, pretended to cry. I wouldn't have thought that anyone believed her performance in a normal, but this was different. Camilla, who had been a member for the past 20 years, had more trust in me than anyone else. The blame was still on me. Undeterred, I retorted.
Let's ask my colleagues to work in the office all morning. Then I will be cleared of the false accusation.
It would proved Camilla's lie. When I decided to fight back, the savior I had been waiting for.
I asked Sally to take some of my. It was an urgent request, but she agreed to help.
It was Jim, my father-in-law. Behind him stood Wayne with relief on his face. Right, I had asked him for a favor hold of his dad earlier. Jim was going to miss the celebration because his business schedule was packed. When he heard that I was in trouble, wife and relative, he rushed back home. I was confident that I could clear my name with the help of a good lawyer, but the influence of the next head family was more powerful. Yay. Let the counterattack begin. His explanation turned all the suspicion. Camilla,
Sally, is it true what she said to the phone?
he asked.
It is. Camilla tasted the food and it was disgusting, so she threw it away. She said I could only cook nothing but a supermarket ready-made food. Isn't that right, Camilla?
Relatives clamored. Camilla's face was getting whiter.
Really? We don't treat our product for rats.
Jim's words caused a stir among them. Suddenly, a sob ran out. It was one of the cousins, Emily, who holding a baby.
I practiced cooking very hard but how terrible it turned out to be. My husband praised it and said it was delicious.
She lost her face because of Camilla's confusion. Her desperate plea echoed in every corner. It was Emily who took up my time. She was the star of the celebration. But since everyone was coming to my baby shower, I decided to make it a little more special. She told me that she wanted everyone to have good food. I readily agreed and taught her how. After Jim, who was usually strict, gave a thumbs up, we welcomed this day. She told me to keep it secret as she to surprise everyone. But I didn't expect her to keep it a secret from Camilla, who was in charge of the ceremony. Never mind.
Emily's food was bad. That was why it away, right?
Camilla was agitated by Jim's rage.
No, I didn't know it was Emily's.
Shut up. Whoever made it, it's not okay to just throw away food. Besides, Emily is one of the chefs who work at my restaurant. You're saying that my taste is wrong, letting her work there?
No way. I never meant that way.
It was too late to deny it now. You yourself. Emily worked at a Japanese restaurant in a shopping center. Jim managed where he worked. Despite being a traditional cuisine, she had to cook this time as well. Although I was the one teaching her, she easily surpassed me in a roast. She had to teach me French cuisine, and moreover, her French cooking had been endorsed by Jim. Camilla had no talent in cooking to have criticized Emily's food. She actually had weird taste buds. She once told me, "Not enough sugar in this mashed point. You should add lots of sugar to the sauce." She once gave me misguided advice from a superior point of view. Yes, Camilla had a palate that made dishes very sweet. Jim, while reflecting on his own childhood, realized that he had been spoiled by his parents. "I guess everything tastes bad except sweet food," he sighed. Camilla begged for Jim's forgiveness, but it wasn't him she should have apologized to. It was Emily.
Camilla, you're apologizing to the person. Besides, throwing away perfectly goo unspeakable. Apologize to the people who favor the creation of a new state.
I blurted out all my frustrations. Camilla showed no remorse and grabbed my shoulders with a serious look on her face.
I thought it was yours. The food made by a low class from a single parent like you shouldn't be served on an upperclassman. If I knew it was Emily's, I wouldn't have thrown it away. It's all your fault. You conspired to make me feel this way.
It was Wayne's aunt who scolded Cam. Obscenity.
You know, I'm divorced, right? I can't believe you look down on Sir parents. I guess you think I'm despicable too. Besides, there are a few single parents who have been successful in raising their children without any help from the other parent. You're degrading us all, right?
She went hard on Camilla.
No, that's not it. I'm only talking Sally.
She argued, but her aunt's anger had subsided.
Enough hearing from you. I see your true color now. I've never liked you anyway. You've always been so pretentious.
Camilla trembled and crumbled down floor. At that point, a deep roar filled the air.
What's all this fuss about? I was just looking forward to the celebration.
The voice of dignity was an old man wheelchair. I couldn't remember who he was, but noticed my confusion and said,
You met him at our wedding.
"This man, of all people, was the cur and the grandfather of Wayne."
It is unforgivable to throw away food. Every dish is filled with the chef and soul. Anyone who treats it with disrespect should be prepared to suffer the consequences.
He spoke quietly, but with a tone of persuasion, and continued.
My late wife, may God bless her, struggled with eating as a child. Her family was poor. She caught fish and wild rabbits or eat, but she eventually became ill. At such a time, a farmer she knew buy pumpkins for her. The sweetness of the pumpkin reminded her of the late grandmother whom she lost earlier that year. At that moment, she felt the presence of the Almighty.
Everyone was listening intensely to the narrative of the head of the family.
Every food is cooked with a feeling involved, she often said fondly, that she was by the kindness of the ones who prepared them.
He stopped there and looked at each the room, and then continued to say,
It's unthinkable for the family who trades in various foods. Don't mistreat them. Surely none of us is so disgraceful as to be unable to forgive.
Of course not. 1.
Jim replied, and everyone else nodded agreement. Camilla was the only one who was from time. After this incident, Jim realized that she wasn't good for him and the family, and decided to divorce her. There was no one who opposed his decision. Camilla, who was proud of her status, understood the absolute authority of the family, and he didn't fight against divorce. Not only she ruined the celebration, but her misconduct with the food was heavily blamed. She could do nothing but weep and she received a small amount of alimony and was kicked out of the house. Afterward, she moved into a public home. She was famous for being pretentious, so the rumor of her being kicked out of the family spread quickly. No one in the house wanted to be with her. For someone who had her share of Exxon for all those years, it must have been such a humiliation. She brought what goes around comes onto herself. It was way too late for her to regret it. I felt no sympathy toward her. Following my rented father-in-law's death, I inherited his house, thankful for food and love from my husband. I prepare a meal for Wayne today.